Here are the reveals. This is the underproofed loaf halfway through the bake. And yes, I was absolutely shocked that this came out beautiful. What? Then we have the loaf that was closest to perfectly proofed. Also gorgeous. You can tell it's a lot larger, more airy, more puffed up. This just chef's kiss. Beautiful, beautiful loaf. Then we have the overproofed loaf. And this one, I was expecting it to be like caving in, deflated. No, this is the most beautiful one yet. It's the largest, it's the airiest. It felt like just air in my hands. Like what do you mean? Underproofed, perfectly proofed, overproofed. It's finally time to look at our underproofed, perfectly proofed, and overproofed sourdough loaves. The results are already shocking. They don't look that different. This went to a 20% rise, 50% rise, and 110% rise, and they were 75-degree dough. Let's cut into them. Let's start with the underproofed loaf. It's not bad, not bad. I would be happy with this, but there's tunneling happening, surrounded by denser areas. And this feels dense. Here's our perfectly proofed loaf. Perfect. They're not that different. It's not what I was expecting. Okay, let's look at our overproofed loaf. How when I touch it, it just sinks in. The overproofed one is the best. Underproofed, perfectly proofed, overproofed. This one is pretty dense in certain areas. Like right here, it's very stiff feeling. And we do see some tunneling happening. The perfectly proofed one, it's much more cloud-like, very fluffy. But we still have some of these larger holes toward the bottom. Now this is the one that was very overproofed. It's very fluffy, very cloud-like, no big holes, no dense areas that I can see. You can see indications of overproofing, like the shape of these holes. You see how they're very vertical? The biggest difference between these three by far is how dense it feels. Dense, more light and fluffy, airy, I mean just sinks. Okay, I sliced up all the loaves and I took out some pieces that kind of more exaggerated the difference. So this is the underproofed, the one that supposedly perfectly proofed, but I'm sure that is debatable. And then the one that was overproofed. Here you can see the triangle shape on the side. That's an indication of underproofing when it kind of doesn't fully expand like this. And obviously there's a massive hole that was tunneling through the entire loaf. This one is the one that should be closest to perfectly proofed based on the visual signs and also Tom's dough proofing and percentage rise chart. And then here's the overproofed one. Let's look at the other side. Team overproof, honestly. I had someone ask me to taste test all three of them. I just did, and there's a very clear difference. The underproof loaf has almost no sour tang at all. Definitely more than like a grocery store bread, but it's not overwhelming at all. It's very, very mild. The properly proofed one is like medium, normal for a bread that I usually make, really delicious. The overproofed one is very tangy. It's so complex in the flavor. It actually just like blew me away. I really prefer the flavor on the overproofed. It's actually amazing. So what happened, right? I would love to have a discussion about this in the comments. So definitely go down there and leave your opinion. And I'm secretly hoping that some of my favorite sourdough accounts that have a lot more experience than me will spread some of their wisdom in the comment section to explain why these loaves don't look more different. I was surprised because the percentage rise of each one was very drastically different, but the results are not that different. I have some ideas on this. So this dough went through a lot of mixing. I did an autolyse, which means mixing the flour and water together, let that rest. Then I came back and did a fermentolyse, which is adding the starter to the flour and water, letting that rest. So we already have two pretty vigorous mixings. And then we come back and add the salt That's a whole other mixing. And then we did a stretch and fold and a coil fold. So by the time this dough had gone through all of this handling, it was so strong. It had a beautiful window pane, super elastic, and strong dough is going to be able to hold those air bubbles in there beautifully. So I think that gave a bit more grace in cutting off the bulk fermentation at different times. Was the underproof loaf ideally cut off? No, we can see some signs of underproofing, but it could have been worse. And I think that the dough strength really helped prop up the dough and gave it the best shot at being okay. Second thing, the dough temperature was 75 degrees, which is a pretty agreeable temperature. I think if all of the dough had been 80 degrees, we would have seen a bigger difference because warmer dough ferments at such a fast pace that even 30 minutes can make a difference. But at 75-degree dough, you kind of have a little bit more grace in the timing of things because it's not moving so fast. And the dough isn't also really cold to where everything is moving at a snail's pace. So I think the dough temperature probably also helped this dough turn out pretty decent in all three cases. Lastly, I have a very strong, well-maintained starter. It is an established starter. It's very mature. When I feed it and it peaks, it usually triples in size, and it's a happy starter. I feed it 1 to 2 times a day, usually a 1 to 5 to 5 feeding ratio. I think the fact that it's maintained on the counter instead of in the fridge keeps it very strong. And I feed it a lot, usually peak to peak, which is a great tactic to strengthen a sluggish starter. I'm gonna do this experiment again. I'm not gonna do quite as much mixing. I'm just gonna mix all of the ingredients together at the same time. Maybe I'll try to keep the dough a little bit warmer, and I will really exaggerate the cutoff times. Even though this experiment didn't give me the results that I was expecting, I still think I learned some valuable lessons here. If you have a really strong starter and really good technique, I think you can still get a decent loaf even if you screw up the bulk fermentation, which is a good thing to know. But obviously we need to do more testing. I'd love it if other people did something similar and shared what their results are. Ultimately, I just hope that this opens up a conversation and lets us all continue to learn and go down the sourdough rabbit hole together. Happy baking.